This is the biggest piece of Xbox news we've gotten in years. What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff, blah, 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 blah. Let's skip right to it. Phil Spencer is no longer the CEO of Xbox. Sarah Bond is out too. This ends Phil's nearly 40-year run at Microsoft. And though he is retiring, he's gonna be serving in an advisory role through the summer of 2026. So who's taking over as CEO? Well, that apparently is one Asha Sharma. Before this, she was the president of product development for Microsoft's core AI division. Yes, that's just what we want. Yes, more AI people at Xbox. She was also a chief operating officer at Instacart and vice president at Meta. According to reports, she's been working with Phil Spencer for months now to transition into this new role as CEO. This is part of a larger shakeup, so Phil Spencer retiring. Asha Sharma, she's in as new CEO. Sarah Bond, she's leaving Microsoft entirely. No advisory role, she's not sticking around, she's just dipping. Matt Booty is hanging around though. He's been promoted to EVP and Chief Content Officer. 40 years is a long ass time, and it's pretty damn impressive that he was able to work him up to a CEO position. In his final statement, he says, "When I walked through Microsoft's doors as an intern in June of 1988, I could never have imagined the products I'd helped build, the players and customers we'd serve, or the extraordinary teams I'd be lucky enough to join. It's been an epic ride and truly the privilege of a lifetime. Last fall, I shared with Satya Nadella that I was thinking about stepping back and starting the next chapter of my life. From that moment, we aligned on approaching this transition with intention, ensuring stability and strengthening the foundation we've built. Xbox has always been more than a business. It's a vibrant community of players, creators, and teams who deeply care about what we build and how we build it. And it deserves a thoughtful and deliberate plan for the road ahead." He had a pretty glowing endorsement of Asha, saying, "Today marks an exciting new chapter for Microsoft Gaming as Asha Sharma steps into the role of CEO, and I want to be the first to welcome her to this incredible team. Working with her over the past several months has given me tremendous confidence. She brings genuine curiosity, clarity, and a deep commitment to understanding players, creators, and the decisions that help shape our future." And during those 40 years, he was around for some seriously major moments in Xbox history, including some moments that probably pissed a lot of people off. But the major ones, I mean, this guy was at one point looked at as the savior of Xbox, the opposite of Don Matrick. No way was Phil Spencer gonna make the same mistakes that Xbox did during the Xbox One generation. He was a real gamer. This dude actually played games and understood what gamers want. Surely, this guy would take the Xbox Series X and S to another level and put Xbox back in the map on par with where they were at in the glory days of the Xbox 360. But unfortunately, he leaves behind kind of a complicated legacy. Like I just mentioned, this dude clearly knows ball. This dude plays games. Fallout 76, a ton of Destiny, and a bunch of other games. Like, you would actually see this guy on Xbox Live playing games, sometimes even responding to people's messages. You can tell that this guy loved Xbox and gaming, and he played a huge part in Microsoft even keeping Xbox around at all after that Xbox One generation. He was a champion of Game Pass. He fought to keep Xbox alive at Microsoft. But on the other hand, he'll also be known as the CEO that was in charge when they decided to go multi-platform, when they decided to lay off a bunch of employees, when they decided to close down a bunch of studios. He became known as the guy that would promise one thing and then do another. "We hear you, we hear you." That was like his catchphrase over the past few years. In his defense though, I don't know how much of that you can really put on him. If it was up to Phil, I really think they would have stuck with a more traditionalist approach when it comes to their platform, keeping those exclusives, emphasizing console sales. All of this other stuff that we're seeing, this multi-platform approach, this pivot to PC and cloud, that seems more like a Microsoft thing than it did a Phil Spencer thing. I could be wrong though. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know the inner workings of Xbox and Microsoft. That just is how it comes across to me. And can you really blame him though? Like, who would want to be in charge of Xbox after the Xbox One generation? I would love to be in charge of Xbox, you know, after the 360 gen when they were flying high, absolutely, but Phil was dealt a rough hand. A lot needed to be done for the Xbox brand to bounce back from those down years of Gen 8. And when Microsoft finally started making a serious investment into their gaming division by buying up ZeniMax Media, Mojang, all of those other studios and publishers, it was kind of a little too late. By then, the PlayStation install base doubled that of the Xbox One, and that gap just further and further widened. Phil Spencer himself said that the Xbox One generation was the worst generation to lose, because everyone had built up their digital library on PlayStation, and there was no way in hell that they would switch on over to Xbox, even if Starfield came out and was a banger 10 out of 10. But for as complicated as his legacy was, I still have to give him credit again for actually playing games. And I'm not 100% sure on this because I don't know her either, but I don't think that his replacement, Asha, has ever picked up a controller. When Phil came up and was the CEO of Xbox, he had been with Microsoft for decades at that point. He had a lot of wisdom and experience to bring into that role. Asha has been at Microsoft for 2 years, and she's never worked in gaming. Her most recent job was all about AI and building up the service to scale to billions of people, service billions of customers. You know, good for Phil for hyping her up. That was nice of him, but I mean, that's some big shoes to fill, man. Let's take a look at her statement, what she has to say. She says, humility, because this team has built something extraordinary over decades. Urgency, because gaming is in a period of rapid change, and we need to move with clarity and conviction. I am stepping into a work shaped by generations of artists, engineers, designers, writers, musicians, operators, and more who create worlds that have brought joy and deep personal meaning to hundreds of millions of players. The level of craft here is exceptional, and it is amplified by Xbox, which is founded in the belief that the power of games connect people and push the industry forward. Thank you to Phil for his leadership and to every studio, platform, and operations team that built this foundation. We are stewards of some of the most loved stories and characters in entertainment and bring players and creators together around the fun and community of gaming in entirely new ways. So, okay, yeah, she's saying all the right things, not a bad start. She's acknowledging the legacy of Xbox, giving it its flowers, acknowledging the teams and the artists that worked there. Keyword, artists. She's saying all the right things. We'll see how this plays out. Xbox leadership, we know they're very highly media trained. So they're always saying the right thing or dancing around the elephant in the room. So we'll see as time goes on if these words that Asha is saying about, oh, I have reverence for Xbox and the studios and the people that work for their studios, we'll see if her actions align with what she's saying right now, if she really appreciates Xbox and understands the culture of gaming. It raises my eyebrows a little bit. She doesn't seem to have a background in gaming, but then you see Satya Nadella's statement, and okay, it starts to make sense. Because in his statement, he's like, Ash is great because she's used to scaling up businesses. She brings a deep experience building and growing platforms, and that's going to be critical in leading our gaming business into its next era of growth. That's all. Like, I cannot stand this dude. I cannot stand this dude. Like, of course you would say that. He's like, oh yeah, I'm in on gaming as long as it can scale to billions of people, as long as we can keep growing cloud and, you know, pivot away and like put our products on as many screens as possible. That's not what we want. I understand that's what Microsoft wants. They want infinite growth. They want dollar bills, but that's not what we want. That's not what I want. I want good games. I want the Elder Scrolls 6. This is a clear division between Microsoft's priorities and what gamers really want. Because gaming isn't just about metrics and growth. It's about understanding what the players want. Asha's background is very corporate focused, very growth focused. Is she the type of person that will prioritize, I don't know, the number of Game Pass subscribers and the number of hours being played through cloud gaming servers over the quality of the games? But hey, who knows? Maybe this kind of fresh perspective, this outsider's perspective, is exactly what Xbox needs. Obviously, things were going to change with or without Phil, and you can argue that his emotional attachment to Xbox and to Microsoft in many ways was conflicting with his role as CEO and the direction that Microsoft was trying to take Xbox in. I could totally imagine Phil looking at everything, looking at the landscape of gaming and Xbox and just saying, yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time for me to step back. This is not either what I want or what I expected when I became CEO and when I started the Xbox Series X and S generation. I think I'm out. I'm going to try and train this next person up as best as I can, and then I'm going to hang around as an advisor, and then I'll just kind of ride off into the sunset. I'm 58 years old. I have plenty of time now to play Destiny or whatever game I want. Whatever he does next, I wish him best of luck. I've met Phil a couple of times and he's been really cool. One of my favorite conversations with him had nothing to do with gaming, but rather his favorite surfing spots in Southern California. Love him or hate him, he was a friendly dude. He would go out of his way to interact with fans, especially when they were still doing Xbox Fan Fest. And that's a very rare quality. You don't see CEOs of other corporations go out of their way to connect to their fan base in the same way that Phil did. But that's not the only thing that's happening with Xbox leadership. No, Sarah Bond is leaving as well, which is just weird. I feel like she just got a promotion. Like, she got promoted to head of Xbox hardware and gaming or whatever her title was. If anything, I felt like once Phil left, she would be be the one stepping into his role. She was one of Xbox's biggest cheerleaders, and she was credited as a major part of why the FCC decided to approve Microsoft's buyout of Activision Blizzard. She was the head of hardware. They literally had her talking into a camera about these new next-gen powered AMD chips. I would have expected her to at least hang around until they released the new Xboxes. I'm sure a lot of people have their theories, yeah, absolutely, but Phil, the official story is that he's retiring. I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm retiring. Sarah, much younger than Phil Spencer. You could have hung around for several more years, but instead she is leaving, flat out leaving Microsoft entirely. I don't know if it's because she wanted the CEO job, but got passed over, so she's like, psh, I'm out. I see people saying, oh, she didn't really agree with the direction that Microsoft was taking. I feel like she would have been down more so than Phil Spencer. So I don't know how true that is. Maybe she got a better offer somewhere, that's entirely possible as well. Or maybe she just got tired of being involved in games. Like, it could be exhausting, especially when you're at an executive level, just people on the internet telling you that you don't know how to do your job, you suck constantly. Maybe that got to her. No matter what though, this is not a coincidence. The fact that she's leaving at the same time that Phil is leaving, either she was pushed out or she chose to leave. And then of course there's Matt Booty hanging around. Matt Booty. His last title was head of Xbox Game Studios, and now he's the EVP and Chief Content Officer. He now oversees content across all of Microsoft Gaming. Matt Booty has an interesting history. I once had a conversation with him after he was a keynote speaker at USC Games Festival. He has a master's in theater arts. I didn't know that. And he was also one of the first people to pitch a free-to-play game with World of Tanks. Since he's been head of Xbox Game Studios, though, it's been up and down, right? Like, yeah, sure, Redfall was a disaster. They closed down Tango Gameworks, no more Hi-Fi Rush. But there's also been some great games that have launched under his tenure. This kind of feels like we need some stability here. We can't lose Matt Booty as well. Actually, you know what? Because he's so familiar with the company and our studios, let's have him oversee some more stuff, and he can be that stable presence while we're going through this really big transition. This is just crazy, man. This is crazy. This is truly the end of an era for Xbox. And unfortunately, only time will tell if Microsoft is making the right decisions here, changing up Xbox leadership this way. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I gotta talk about today. Please let me know your takes on this entire situation. And if you like Xbox, if you like my content, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.